So unfortunately, I had the battery. I was using it. I went out on quite a few rides with it. Charged it up. It looked like it charged up fine. But then I had it sitting for a week or so. Went to go check it. Seen that the voltage was down by at least a whole point there, a whole volt. It's off. Plugged it into the charger and the charger refuses to charge it anymore. So that tells me that that column of batteries I tried to resurrect, it didn't go so well. They probably, seems like they sagged all the way back down. So I'm going to open this battery back up, check on the cells, and see if I'm right. This is definitely a pretty thick heat shrink there. Awesome work I did wrapping it up. Now I'm going to get my multimeter so I can actually check the cells. Good old multimeter out here. A quick way of testing all these pins without having to go through this crazy makeup of this battery. Basically, I start by putting one here. It's pretty much just little metal tabs along there. So you can tab each one. So there, 408. The next one, just double it. And there I got my bad cell. I got 3.54 on that area right there. And then on the high, what's keeping me from charging anymore, it's sitting up around 4.17 there, which that's about the cutoff, is 4.2 for these. So that area of cells is definitely bad. And it was the same area I was having the problem with before. And that's where my extra volt is. It's from that group being bad. So I'm going to go ahead and try to segregate that group and remove it out of the battery pack. Then I trace the pins back to the wires. It came out to these two. So you got basically all the batteries between here and there. And that's my bad section right here. So I need to get these batteries out. So I'm going to take off the sticky from the other side there. These 6 batteries right there. So I got to get this whole section out. I got some wire snips here. May have to use a Dremel. Okay, that worked. Just trying to be really careful as I'm chopping through. So I got to do 3 on this side. The sideways battery thing definitely is making this a little bit more difficult to maintain. I unsoldered the 2 BMS wires from it now that I got the top of it cut from it. So got that one off, and that one I've already done there. And then additionally, before I need to try to split this pack into 2 here, I need to also get off the negative battery wire there, just so I can be able to flip the whole thing. That's out of the way here. There's that one. And then I gotta also do the negative wire here. All right, for the BMS. Now that I got all that unhooked, so that should be all the tape that was holding it together. Now, got all the balance leads. Those are, I should be able to keep those connected. Do got to be careful when I'm pulling them off here, but relatively should be able to keep them connected. All right, let's try. Shit. It is pretty well sealed. There we go. Took a little bit of force there, but it finally gave. I got the battery more on a logical orientation here. Oh, that is sticky. Definitely don't want to close those 2 halves now on each other. Kaboom! I need to cut that bridge out there. Okay, that one's off. All right, got that out. We have damaged the other cell that I didn't need to, but hey, it happens. Got that piece off. Now I just got to get this other piece here off, just like that. And luckily, it looks like I ripped all the right sheaths. You can see where I slightly damaged that cell there, and some of the sheathing on it. I'm gonna test this group, see how it is. Should be all right. It's a slight short. Let's see. It wasn't the bad group. That was the bad group. 406. That's still reading fine. I just need to figure out a way to essentially be able to cover up any bald spots, especially that one right there. That's particularly bad. Probably end up adding some insulated paper there. So pretty much you would never touch. Same thing over all the little bald spots that were made from pulling it apart. I'll just add the insulated paper in between there before I stick it all back together. So yeah, this is the bad group here. Let's give it another test using the multimeter. So these were definitely the bad cells. I'm gonna go online, see if I can match these as best as possible and replace them. Also gonna have to order me a spot welder for this, because pretty much the only way to put this back together is with a spot welder. You could see solder, but it's kind of no for the amount of heat you end up making. And then this incel here, yeah, I need to just figure out a way to be able to cover everything up there and make that safe again, or remove it and replace it basically. Okay, I did test this battery out. Actually, this whole area, it only lost 0.02 of a volt there, so not really a big deal. The battery's fine too on the outer shell. That's where it shorted out, and basically it was missing a piece of the shielding there, or I scored it with the clippers when I was cutting it. So I'm gonna wrap Captain heat tape around it, and this stuff here. And then I'm also going to put a new shield on top of it, and then I'll patch spot weld it back in, and just like that, and that should patch up the hole in the casing. Basically, it's super glued into the rest of the pack. If I pulled it off, I'd just be kind of causing the problem over and over. So that's patched up. I'm also add a piece there and there and there. The other side will have the new sheets on the batteries, but I just want to cover that up to make sure everything's nice and protected here. And just like that, I patched the little holes that were basically caused when I was pulling the batteries apart. Pretty sure they used super glue on this. I'll probably be using something more like hot glue. I'll reinforce it with the tape and everything. Yeah, it makes it quite difficult to get it off without damaging the sheet on it. I got a new insulated top ring on there, and got some Kapton insulated thermal tape just to patch up where there's a little hole in the side of that battery. No big deal. So now I got the spot welder. I'm gonna add a couple of pieces of nickel strip, one there, and then when I connect it, I'm gonna be going over a double layer over them. Just roughly measuring out the first piece here. Looks like it should be about that length. Put some giant 10 snips. It's a little bit better, but I still want to round off these corners a little bit on them. Just make it a tad bit safer. And that should be my first bridge connection there. Already got everything tuned into the settings that I want, so should be good on that. I end up hitting it with a couple pulses. 1, 2. All right, that looks pretty good there. All right, just got to do the same thing, connect it over here on this other side. I'm just going to place it on there. 1, 2. Ooh, a little sparky spark there. All right, and nice. We have a good connection between those two. Now I just need to do a bridge from here to there, just to mimic the system that they had going previously on the battery. So I'm gonna cut up a piece for that. Same thing, I'm gonna round out the corners for it. Pretty happy about that. I gotta make sure when I'm doing any of the tack welds, is to make sure I'm going into the center of these positive ends, because, well, the other side would be the other polarity. There are insulators in between it, but still don't want to attempt to try to blast through them. So that is good there. That is tack weld on. All right, so now just this other side. And I'm doing, yeah, two pedals on this machine for each weld on the setting I got it on. It's just the best I found. This particular machine, I don't have a duration on it. I assume it needs a little bit longer of duration than best for this material, but it works. All right, and yeah, that looks really good there. I'm really happy about how that turned out. It's all nice and strong. So pretty much now I just wait on Mailman to get the other 6 batteries so I can build them. After a bit of testing on the 6 cells that I took out of the battery, I found it was just one cell bringing the whole parallel down. This is auto discharged itself after charging within 4 days to already a 3.6 volts, which would be pretty much dead. So this was the culprit. One battery, that's all it takes to take out a large pack. So I'm not going to use any of those batteries, of course. And I finally got my 6 batteries in. And since these are all in the same parallel, then it's all pretty much safe. It's all good. They may be a little bit stronger than the pack. They'll end up probably kicking the charger off first, but it'll allow me to achieve the 54.6 volts, which is considered full for a 48 volt battery. So I can get started on spot welding these guys together here. Pretty much all I got to do here is follow this pattern. So I'm going to start out with the first 2 cells, and then I'm probably going to do a bunch of 2s, and then I'm going to stagnate them and connect them together. And I'm also going to apply super glue in between this whole parallel grouping here, just to kind of follow in the style of what they did. It's a lot stronger than glue. Unfortunately, hot glue, when it gets hot, it just falls apart. I found at 100 Fahrenheit, it loses pretty much a lot of its tackiness. Okay, so the holder actually works out perfect for this. I was wrong in my review of it. There is no air gap really, so that's good. They're touching right against each other. So I'll spot weld these 2 sides together, flip it over, and then proceed to do the same on the other side. All right, just got done sanding the tips of it. You're gonna want to remove any oxidization. I start out with my test battery here, which is the faulty battery, to just make sure I got all the settings right. All right, so that is indeed a good weld, very good weld onto the bottom of that battery there. So I'm gonna keep my settings, which on this unit is 25T, and I'm doing 2 strikes. Okay, just gonna check that real quick. And that is a good connection right there. Nothing's, didn't overheat anything in there. I got a good fusing, so I don't know why the 2 pulse works good for me. I'm probably the only person I've ever seen do that. But hey, I go with the policy. What works good, I'm gonna change it. I don't want to go up a higher setting because then it ends up blasting holes through it. All right, that is definitely a good connection on this side. So I'm going to flip her over and I'll do the positive side, which this is definitely the side you want to yield a little bit more caution because, yeah, of course, like you got the negative there and then the positive there, hence why there's the plastic rings and everything. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and add these thermal paper tops to it, which adds a 3rd layer. So you got a PVC ring, white ring in there. You got the wrap, and then this gives the final top layer on that. So now that I put the thermal sticky top thingies on them, have the extra layer of protection, I'm ready to now spot weld those 2 terminals together. And then this will make these 2 batteries will be in parallel once this is done. And that is a good connection there. I will be just adding beads of super glue to each part of it here, just to give it a little bit more strength. And yeah, it does destroy the casings when you have to pull it apart, but when you're an e-bike bouncing down the road, yeah, I don't really want anything to flex. So just a touch of super glue here. So pretty much I just got to chew 2 more of these like this. Just got to keep them away from all my little metal scraps, definitely. Here we go. You can temporarily just put them in the case. I can't shut the lid because of it doesn't go down in all the way, but we'll keep them safe. I got my 3 cells made now, and the glue in between them is dried. So what I'm going to want to do is put these together to make a pattern just like that. And I'm going to want to glue these before I start spot welding them. So to hold it, before I glue it, I'm just going to go ahead and run a strand of tape around them. And this will be taken off. This is just to hold it in place while the glue dries, basically. Pretty much just like that. So now I'm going to run a few beads of super glue to connect each one of these groups that I've done together. Been doing like, I don't know, just like 3 drops, honestly. Between that and spot welds, everything should hold fine. And now I just start joining basically the 6 batteries together. Woo. So pretty much just gotta reproduce that onto this side now. I think I also need to put a balance lead sticking out just like that, and I got a little bit of N, and that'll be my tab for basically tapping in for the BMS, and that's where I'll do my solder point, and that'll be after putting thermal paper on the underside there. Actually, I'm gonna do right now. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little extra piece of thermal paper and have it there, which will go right behind the tabbing. Additionally, I'm going to also take a piece of paper and put it on the back side of it. All right, this one officially makes it a pack. Of course, all the connections are made, but everything is connected together now. Not sure if I mentioned, but one of the first things you, of course, want to do before ever hooking anything up in parallel, and I'd say this when hooking my whole packs together, is you want to make sure the voltage is exactly the same, as close as you can get it. I usually go for trying to hit it on the 100th. If it's maybe off a 100th or 2, it should be all right. All right, now we officially have our group together now. She's nice and solid. Now the next trick is I need to start joining it to the cells, and then, well, after that, of course, I got to rehook up the BMS back up into the battery. I think I need to clean all the little bits of metal I have off the table here. That's definitely not safe. So put the battery over here to the side, and I'm gonna start cleaning up all that crap. And basically it fits in together just like that. These sides don't connect together, obviously, but here and here this would connect together, and then on the flip side those two connect together. Now this part, I don't want to actually super glue this together. These two, I'm going to use a hot glue gun, so it's semi-maintainable. Just going to put a ton of hot glue in there and press that together just to hold it together while I'm spot welding and everything, and keep everything real firm. All right, so that is holding it somewhat firm against there. Yeah, it's got a good hold. All right, so now I just need to make strips that go all the way across here and connect these 2 groups together. And then once I flip it over, the same thing on this back side. So here it goes, joining the pack now. It's gonna be one of the herd. It's one of the pack. All right, now I just got to do that 2 more times on this side. Okay, now I just need to hot glue this side to that side, and then flip it over and connect it, and then be pretty much it as far as hooking the cells up. After that, I gotta, well, of course, do the BMS again. Okay, now I just need to flip this part of the battery up onto the top before I spot weld the next ones. And yeah, it looks like I'm gonna have to get out the pen to do this. All right, she is a battery again. I'm taking before I weld this together, I'm taking off the sharp bits that could potentially poke into the other negative side there causing a short. So it's one of the big things where I'm rounding them out and everything to make sure they have no ability to cause any damage. Of course, these two sides I don't have to worry about shorting these sides together because that's how they would normally go. So I'm going to be connecting here in a second. I feel much better with that about that. So now I'm just kind of tampering them back down using the hammer. So now they have no potential to be able to stab the cell next to them. And that is good. Got it prepped and ready to go. Got the pen. Just pretty much connects into the top of my machine there, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and sand the tips a bit to de-oxidize them. And now I'm going to connect the last links to the battery, completing it, making it a 48 volt. So, dun. Woohoo, no sparks, that's always a good thing. Placing the pen on there using medium pressure. Pen may have a little bit more umph to her. That's like pretty good on one shot. I think the pen may actually be faster. Nice. All right, and that makes a complete battery. Pretty much I just gotta hook BMS up, resolder, and she should be good to go. I just gotta attach the BMS wires here. There's a big reason why I put so much thermal paper behind here, just to insulate this and the battery from each other. Just like so. Bob's your uncle. It's got a good connect. Yep, just gotta reconnect this one here. She is becoming a battery again. So that should be all the BMS wires on this side. There will be an additional one when I go to hook the BMS back up. Okay, it looks like at this point I can go ahead and put the top of the battery back on, just like so, and that should make everything a little bit safer. Now I don't have to worry about any kind of shorting out on flipping this in back and forth. Now I gotta flip it onto that. Get to this little BMS access panel here. Okay, now I just need to hook up the main wire and the first BMS wire here back to the negative of the battery. Luckily this side is negative on the batteries because normally I wouldn't recommend soldering, but luckily this is on the negative side. There's no vent for you to drop solder into and make a small little bomb. So got our first wire on there. I'm going to go ahead and add a tiny bit more solder here. And now the main battery wire. All right, and that's a good connection there. Okay, now on the back side of the pins here, I'm going to go ahead and test. And what I'm looking for is for it to step up each time to each pin. Basically, I hold the negative here, and then I go along with the positive to each one. First one, so we got 4. Second one, we got 8. We got 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 41, 45, 49, and 53. So now I know this BMS is it's in the correct order here. So I'm going to go ahead and hook her up. It looks like I'm reading 53.6 volts off the whole thing. So it looks like she may actually accept a charge. I don't know. We'll see when I plug in the BMS and go to charger. Go ahead and plug the BMS in now that everything's hooked up. And it should be good. All right, she's plugged in. Let's go ahead and pick up multimeter here, see what kind of power we're getting off of her. So, okay, she's reading out a little bit higher. We're reading 54 point, it's like 13, 14, slowly rising up there. So that's good. Next thing I'm going to do is, I have the charger here already. So I'm going to go ahead and put it under a charge load and see if it'll accept it. It may not. There may be a cell still topped off. And she's accepting a charge. So That's very good. Looks like the battery wants to top itself off. And it's already there. It's already topped off according to it. So check my cells here real quick. Okay, charge the battery up as far as it'll go. I do got some high cells. Half the battery's high. Probably about, I don't know, 10th, maybe a 12th higher than the other cells. So I'm gonna have to take the battery out and I'll ride it, drain it down at least halfway, charge it back up, and that should give the BMS a chance to balance it out a little bit more. This is considered 100%, but I consider 54.6 a little bit more optimum for a 13S. So I'm going to start wrapping her back up and putting the heat shrink back on her so I can take it out and drain it better. Yeah, alright, just going to reuse old skin, of course, because it's still got the sticky stuff on it. I'll just end up patching the one side here. So that gives it a nice thermal barrier right there. Okay, and I'm going to add a little bit of silicone right here by the wires just to cause a little bit of wire tension. Give myself a mess to clean up when I go into this battery. Hopefully years down the line. I'm hoping I can get at least 2 more years out of it would be nice. In a perfect world, 7 years would be nice, but I have used this battery quite a bit. It was my first battery. So yeah, I'm just doing that. It'll dry up in there and cause just a little bit of thing to give the wires some strength on the back end here. And just made this piece to pretty much reseal the end here for where it was pretty much all ripped into. Shrinkity dinkity we go. Damn it. I held in one spot too long. Son of a bitch. Alright, all rewrapped and ready for me to do a discharge recharge on it, and hopefully the Dolly BMS does its job and bounces the battery pack back to where it should be. It's been a couple months now. I've been riding on the battery off and on, and the Dolly BMS has not been able to correct the balancing issue of it. Of course, because I replaced the cells, those ones are definitely, I would assume, were the strong ones. So to fix this, I got a Neey active balancer. I got a whole other video on this. But anyways, this goes into each one of the cells, and it's able to balance it out a lot better than the passive balancing on the Dolly BMS. This one's active, so it takes from the highest cell and it gives to the lowest cell. As you can see, it's only at 54.42, so we're 0.18 short of a nominal battery here. So I'm gonna cut it open, and basically I just got to put this harness on it, which has 14 wires on this one. So I'm gonna cut the battery open real quick. And another thing, finally got some proper strippers. This should make my life a lot better here. So yeah, those other strippers, pretty much gonna need to bury them. Okay, so I'm gonna take my trusty scissors here and cut my wrap off. All right, now that I got the harness, I know I gotta connect the black cable to there. It's gonna be a real short one, and then I gotta find the next cell basically in the pack, which I'd assume is, I don't know, I'm gonna have to get out my multimeter. Anyways, okay, so the harness cable, I know I'm gonna want a bit sticking out of the pack so I can have the active balancer sitting sometimes in a different location on top or whatever in the bag. Okay, I'm gonna just wrap the bit that's sticking, will be sticking out of the pack with electrical tape. This is just give it an extra layer of protection from the environment, so the balance leads get nicked and short out with each other, because yeah, that's the whole battery right there. Okay, now I'm gonna add some expandable sleeve over that portion of the wire. Nice. And of course I just need to put a thing of heat shrink over that end. Nice, just like so. So basically I got to use a multimeter from the back little tabs. The black was easy because it's only black wire, but from there I start with white. There's 4 of them I got to test with the sound feature on the multimeter. All right, So yeah, you just set it over to the audio setting. Show you with the white real quick. So this first one, that's not it. The second one that was hiding under there, that's the wire right there. So I know it's not these other three, it's that one right there, and that'd be wire 1. So that's pretty much how you do that. Okay, just gonna put a piece of thermal paper above the BMS here and its current balance wires, just to isolate everything. Because, well, any of these leads meeting each other can end up being a big problem. Okay, now pretty much I'm gonna strip and put the negative wire right onto, well, the negative post there. Let's use my new strippers. Oh, I need to cut it to length. Cut it. And these are supposed to be automatic. Let's try this out. I don't think I need that long of a end on it, so pretty much just put it up there and nice. That's cool. Oh, I like that. Yeah, my other ones they're gonna get buried. Probably put them in the trash. I think they were like hand-me-downs of hand-me-downs. All right, so now soldering time. Okay, so I got the black negative wire soldered onto there, and it's separated by the thermal paper there. So next, our first white wire. Luckily, I labeled this battery. So there's 1, that's 2, 2, 3, 4, 13's back there. Yeah, it's very interesting. Oh, it's because it's a top and bottom. So basically, you want to test each one of these. For this, let me turn on my multimeter to voltage. So we got it to voltage. What I'm going to want to do to find out if that's the right connection. This battery's a little bit odd because of the way it's built on that side. Go ahead and flip this over. So negative is the first one. And that's basically where we're going to hold for our test probe, is onto the black wire. Okay, so the other side of this would basically be this here. So we can see we got 4 volts off that one. 2 would be the next one. So we got 8 volts. So that is correct, the labeling up top. Of course, that's the way I put the BMS on. So that's where I'm going to put the next wire. So basically I'm going to do test for my white, and I'm going to put it there. And I'm going to repeat this for each one. I'm going to go to 1. You got the 4. You got the 8. Pretty sure this looks like it would be 3 here. So yeah, now you got 12. And so on. And then I'm going to hook up each 13 sets to the battery. Okay, I've made all my connections. Pretty much now all I got to do is, well, I want to test my connections. So you put 1 on the black pen there, and the red goes on the next one. So we got 4. So now you go to the next one. You got 8, 12. If any of these are out of order, the pens are wrong. 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 41, 45, 49, and 53. And there's also the whole voltage of the pack right at the moment looks like it's at 53.6. So she's definitely out of balance. Okay, so now I'm going to hook up the knee into the system. I'm going to first put the balance wires into the knee. All right, so got that side plugged in, and basically I just got to do my power now to the knee. And it should be okay. Now that I got the app open, this says full pack voltage is 54.15. Wow, we have a large deviation of 0.112. Looks like our highest voltage is 4.225, which is around the shutoff point, and the lowest one is around 4.11. She's weak. Yeah, even our new one, which would be cell number 7, it's even clocking in a little weak there. So this definitely needs some active balancing on it. Okay, so got all these wires up here. I need to tape and manage them. All right, just need to heat shrink the wrap on it again. Now I basically want to add an expandable sleeve to the charge discharge wire. It's a little awkward getting it over these heads, but I found it is doable. If you kind of just push them in, it can be done. Hardest part is getting it over the head. And it's healed up again, of course. Got it all wrapped back up and got the knee hooked up into it. So it'll take a while to balance everything out on the battery, but we'll come back to this probably in the morning. All right, it's the next morning. So we go ahead and reconnect the knee here. Okay, and it's complete. It says there's only a 0.004 difference. That's nice. Four thousandths of a difference. It's perfect. So now we see the battery's at 53.75. So of course it used a little bit of charge to do that. So now I'm gonna plug it into the charger and charge it all the way up. And then I'm gonna rebalance it again. I'm gonna come back in a while after that charges, and then I wanna turn the balancer back on. If I had my adapter, I'd be able to hook both of them up at once, but it's in my bag right now. It shouldn't take long to get it up to full charge. Nice. And now that it's balanced out, you can see that the battery charger stopped at 55.11, which is beyond nominal. That's great. Yeah, you always want a little bit over usually. Sometimes older batteries will sag. Anyways, the BMS knows when the highest cell came and that's when it shut it off. So we got full saturation here. A year later, and this battery is still working great. I even took it with me on my last solar tour with me. Tour was from Phoenix to Las Vegas. You can check it out on this thumbnail right here.